Neat Nation, welcome back. Thanks for joining me on this Whiskey Wednesday, where we are tasting a Willett on a Whiskey Wednesday. Willett Whiskey Wednesday. And it's specifically the Willett 4-Year Family Estate Rye. This product has been on the shelf now for a few years. By a few years, I mean, I think, when did I first see it? Probably 4 years ago. It's hard to keep track. I think the first one I ever picked up was one of the 3-year rye releases. This started as a 2-year rye release, which seems a little ostentatious. Thankfully, it is now set at a 4-year release. Barrel strength, small batch product. Willett also releases a lot of other products under the Family Estate label. Family Estate label gained clout, a following, fandom, by releasing very high-aged single barrels generally, bourbons and ryes, wheated bourbons, rye bourbons, and ryes that were often sourced. So the Family Estate line was generally sourced because Willett didn't start distilling their own stuff until 8 years ago or so. But the Willett Family Estate line has been around for quite some time. And then mid-2010s is when they started releasing the ryes. Initially, my first bottle of this it took me a little while to drink because it was pure dill, Mondo dill up in my rye, which was kind of interesting. Definitely a unique style of pour, but wasn't really for me as a daily drinker or something I wanted to come back to. But this product over the years has kind of evolved to something I keep on the bar. And so I felt like it would be a good time to talk about it. I have some decent ryes behind me. The whole slew of Michter's, which I love. The Michter's 10, the Michter's Barrel Strength. Those are some pretty killer ryes. I've got a really lovely double oaked rye pick here that we did from Starlight that I love. There's the Redemption 10-year rye up there. I've got a Cornerstone rye from Wild Turkey down here. So I've got a decent amount of ryes, the Elijah Craig rye. And I like ryes. I prefer, I think, everyday bourbon, but I pull ryes, particularly in the wintertime. They can be therapeutic, helpful, bolstering in the wintertime, particularly around Christmas. And this is one that I like to keep around. So I'll probably go through roughly a bottle a year of the Willett Family Estate 4-year rye. But they're made in pretty small batches, so pretty much every time I go get another one, which is not super easy, you got to time it right. It's not widely available in Wisconsin, but the proof changes on the regular because the batch changes. So let's talk about the composition of this particular bottle. Willett makes 2 rye whiskey mash bills. One's a high rye, 74% rye, and one's a low rye, and that's the barely legal Kentucky-style rye, 51%. And this is supposed to be a blend of those 2 mash bills in all likelihood. If we start seeing single barrels in the 4 to 8-year-old range of rye, it's probably one of the high rye or low rye mash bills. Unfortunately, Willett doesn't always disclose the mash bill on the bottle, particularly not for Family Estate. It kind of adds to the intrigue of those releases, but it's also pretty frustrating if you have a particular flavor preference. The general consensus is the Willett ryes pack a herbaceous punch. They don't tend to be very, very corn heavy. They don't tend to taste like bourbon like some Kentucky ryes do. They also don't tend to be very, very citrus forward. Like a 95.5 rye, 95% rye mash bill, like what is common out of MGP in Indiana, and now New Riff there in Cincinnati. Let's get into this particular batch. This one is 108.8 proof. I picked this up at the distillery when I was down there in July. It was July of last year. I just did a video actually about the visit to Willett Distillery I released on Monday, so get down in the show notes and check that out. I actually recorded it 10 minutes ago. So a little bit of an inception thing happening here. Picked up this bottle after tasting it on the tour. Like I said, I like to keep one around, but when I tasted this particular bottle, I was like, that's even better than I remember it. Granted, I'm on the tour right now, so that's probably influencing my flavor perception, but let's get one just in case. And at this point, about a half a year later, I've drunk about half of it, so we're right on pace, one a year. Let's break it down. I am getting over a cold, so I'm pulling some from memory, having drunk half the bottle, and then I'm just tasting it live, and it is what it is. I do like to, I'm drinking out of a Scotch glass, that's what this is, but I love these for tasting, particularly if I'm not smelling very well. I feel like this particular shape, even more than a Glencairn, and I have no idea why, but I just feel like this delivers more for me, makes the tasting a little bit easier. It's not a lot of fun to drink out of because it's kind of dainty. The nose is inviting. It's sweet, and it's delivering a balance of herbs and sweetness and wood that is very appealing. And it's reminiscent of some older whiskeys, older ryes, like maybe that Michter's 10, or maybe that Redemption 10 up there to my left. Given the 108.8 proof, it's not like overpowering in an olfactory sense. Like it doesn't curl your nose hairs, but it's full and rich. Like it is really, really inviting. You probably get some mint, which I'm here for that. Not peppermint, definitely in the spearmint category here. And while I said you don't get heavy citrus, which is true, you do get light citrus or really sweet citrus. So if it's lemons, it's kind of barely. It's like just the sweetest possible citrus you could imagine. Like lemon curd, but over maple syrup. Yeah. Lemon curd mixed with maple syrup. It's like right down the middle of the road. It doesn't smell young. It's not grainy, but it's not really oaky, but there's enough wood there. It's sweet, but it's also spicy and herbaceous. You get some black pepper. You get maybe a touch of cinnamon. Just notes for days. Let's guzzle this. Everything you would expect based on how it smells hits your tongue and then dances across your palate. This is by far the best batch of the Willett 4-year rye I've had. Again, I've generally liked them, but this one is really good. So this was a 2021 108.8 proof. If you have this batch, let me know what you think about it. To me, it's the best one, and I should have bought more. If you have a 108.8 proof and you don't want it, holla at your boy. The front starts with maple syrup. Yeah. Maple syrup, which then hits you with a bunch of spice. Like I said, it's not bourbon-y. You can't mistake it for bourbon. It's spicy both in the fact that it delivers some heat, not too hot, but maybe a little hotter than what I would expect from 108.8 proof, especially since the nose was so accessible and really was pretty inviting. There's like a black pepper alongside this green apple kind of in the palate. The citrus that I'm picking up on the nose isn't really citrusy on the palate. It is more appley, but kind of like a tart apple, Granny Smith, something like that for sure. It's got this tartness that might kind of run, send a little shiver down your neck, but it's balanced by some dry oak, but not too dry. The finish is nice and very lingering. Some black pepper, tart apple, and maple syrup. That's all I got. I mean, I feel like that pretty much nails the description. If you go looking for it, the mint is kind of there, particularly on the aftertaste, I guess. So we'll add mint in there. This particular batch is not very dilly. That said, if you get Willett Family Estate 4-year rye, there's a decent chance you're going to find some dill. I'm okay with that. I'm here for herbaceous notes. If you don't like dill, this may not be a product for you. So I'd say, maybe taste it first if you can. Try it at a bar. And if you're okay with the level of dill, go for it. Like I said, as it's aged and gone from a 2 to 3 to 4-year product, I feel like some of that herbaceousness is tempering out. And man, I wish they would release this at 6 years. A 6-year small batch or something. I dig the 6-ish year old Willett blackened release up there. And granted, that's finished in Madeira, but I would have loved to taste those whiskeys even before they went into the Madeira casks. And I am stoked to try some older Willett distilled ryes. Hopefully one day, maybe, we'll see. Because, as I said, this is kind of hard to find. MSRP $60 to $70. I think that's kind of the right price point for it. It's high for a 4-year-old product, but I think matches the quality. Would not pay more than that. I'm out if you're getting secondary prices on this thing. And by and large, the secondary value has kind of stayed in the $70 range, at least last I looked. Granted, that was a little while ago. 60 to 70 is the right. Don't pay more than that. But because it's pretty good, and because it has the Willett Family Estate label, people do pull it off the shelves. So, but it's also distributed pretty well. So if you're keeping an eye out, you hit the shops, right place, right time, you can probably get one. If I'm to score this thing, which on the Drew scale, which is non-existent and ever evolving, I'm gonna give this like an 8.6. An 8.6 out of 10. Really good rye. Not extraordinary, but one I'm happy to drink always and will occasionally reach for. And I would commend it to you. Like I wouldn't give something above a 9 unless it was. I'm used to grading coffee, so an 86 in coffee, it's a pretty good score. Anything getting close to sniffing 90 is kind of world class, and anything above 90 is just like, no, they don't exist. So an 8.6 on the Drew scale, which again has no actual like founding in reality, is pretty good. Willett 4-year rye, very cool. Hope you enjoyed that review. We'll catch you all tomorrow night, Thursday night, because I'm going to be in Kentucky now. If you're watching this, I'm already in Kentucky. The plans to live stream with Brian Bikey in person Thursday night, COVID pending. So hope to see you all there. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep it neat. Bye now.